guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a new series that I start where I discuss openly these psychic abilities that started a couple of years ago when my mom was killed. And I don't know why today feels pivotal. I have filmed other dream videos regarding my mom and like my spirit team. This one is just different because last night I had this psychic dream that I connected with someone that was like a serial killer, and I've never experienced that before. One thing I've learned with my abilities is sometimes my guides will give me a message and it won't make sense in that moment, but then like in a couple weeks or a month, it will make sense. So I'm wondering if I start documenting these experiences and share them with you guys, that you can be on this road to sort of mystery, filling in the holes and fitting puzzle pieces together. Last night I had this dream. I was at work with my mom. When I was younger, some of my first jobs were working with her. She was a gemologist. She worked in diamonds and gold. I've told you guys that before. I was named after diamonds. Actually, my mom almost named me Diamond. Thank God she didn't. She ended up naming me Krystal with a K because of the way diamonds sparkle. I was at this place called, in the dream, I was at this place called the Denver Merchandise Mart, and it's been torn down. It used to exist in Denver. She worked in wholesale pretty much her whole life, wholesale diamonds and gold. And she taught me a lot about jewelry. And in this dream, we were at one of her, what they call them, showrooms. And this man walked in and he said that he was looking for me. And it was weird because usually when my mom's in a dream, I feel safe. I feel like I'm okay. But for some reason, she sort of took a back seat, because remember, these dreams are usually me connecting with the other side, me connecting with someone that's in the gray zone, or sometimes I even have dreams that are premonitions. This particular dream to me felt more like a premonition, but it was definitely somewhat of a crossover because my mom was there, right? So that's usually when I interact with the other side. We're in this showroom, this man's looking for me, and I turn around and I say, yes, you're looking for me. And he said, yes, I'm looking for you. And he said, we need to get going. And it turns out that this man ended up kind of becoming like a taxi driver in a sense. I had another friend with me in the dream. I don't know why I trusted this person to drive me, but he took me across town to Lakewood, which is where I grew up, Lakewood, Colorado. He actually told me that before he took me to my aunt's house, he was going to drive me to my high school. And I thought it was really strange because I couldn't figure out why I was going to trust this guy and get in the car with him. Before we got in the car in the dream, he got really close with me, like in my energy field, like to the point where I thought it was going to be inappropriate. And the first thought I had to myself was, maybe he's a big fan. And I just looked at him and said, respect boundaries. And when I said that, he put his hands up like this and he backed off from me. But he had this like kind of smirk on his face. And there was something about him I just knew that I shouldn't trust. But remember, when I have these dreams, they're so real. I almost don't realize that I'm dreaming. I don't know if it's real or not because I'm also in the gray zone. He basically tried to negotiate to try to regain my trust after that, which I ended up trusting him, and we ended up getting in the car and we ended up driving across town. Now, in the real world, Denver to Lakewood is probably about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on if you take the highway or the back roads. He was driving the back roads. He ended up stopping at an ice cream shop. And so this has to tie in somehow. And it looked a lot like Baskin Robbins, but like almost a 1950s, 60s sort of ice cream shop. And he wanted to order ice cream. And once we walked in, I sort of realized that he had assumed that we were on a date. Now, keep in mind, we had also taken my friend with me because I didn't trust to be with him alone. So my friend was there, but he was like getting food or whatever. And I was interacting with this entity, this person. Now, while we're in the ice cream store, I'm starting to really get a sense that he is not trustworthy. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know specifically why I don't trust him. But there's something about his energy that I am like keeping an eye on him. We ended up ordering ice cream. My friend became distracted, and this entity or man tried to sort of make a move on me again and got a little too close for comfort once again in my energy. And I told him again, I said, whoa, you need to back off. Like, you're too close. You need to like take a step back and respect the boundaries. And it's interesting because he did the same thing again. He put his hands up and he backed away from me. But I could still see there was like a little bit of a smirk on his face. And once again, I was just not trusting whoever it was I was interacting with. So we end up getting back in the car. He's in the front seat driving. He says we're on my way to my aunt's house to drop me off, which is so specific because my aunt's house it's a home that's been in our family for many generations. So anyone that knows me would have known that that was always kind of considered home or like home base or hub for my whole family. He goes, before we drop you off, I want to drive you by your high school. So it was really specific because at my high school growing up, it's changed since then. There was a lot of farmland across the street from my high school. It was a farmer that had owned this land for many, many generations. It was a huge lot of land. He always had horses and cows and pigs and everything you could imagine. My aunt and my family were actually friends with this man. One time there was like a snowstorm and my cousin had slid her car into a ditch and he brought his tractor out and pulled her car out with the tractor. So that's why I'm so familiar with this area, because my aunt lived on the same street of my high school. So my entire high school career, anytime I'd get out of school or get out early, I would literally walk not even like a half a block to my aunt's house, and I would just stay there until my mom got off work. I think it was junior year, this farmer sold a really tiny lot of the land, and it was furthest away from his property. So literally like on the other side of his property. And a couple of people purchased the land, like, you know, the little like corners of each land. There was 2 of them and they built houses on them. And they were really like new for the neighborhood because all of the rest of the houses were built in like the 40s and 50s and even prior to that. My aunt's house was actually older. My aunt had the original house in the neighborhood. So it's like from the late 1800s, early 1900s, really old. So anyway, I remember when we were driving on our way to my high school and this guy is driving me, I realized he takes like a weird back way and I can't figure out what he's doing. He could have gone direct and he ended up going kind of around this like cul-de-sac area that only locals would really know, up to this stop sign. And this was where one of the lots of land was sold. And it was where one of the new houses was. And I first remember looking over at my high school and there's just kids flooding out of the high school and nothing really seemed odd about it to me. A lot of kids would cross this intersection when they were, you know, leaving high school and going home. But I couldn't figure out why the guy was stopped for so long at this stop sign. I couldn't figure it out. And I'm kind of trying to be aware of my surroundings because there's no 4-way traffic. He's not waiting for a car. There's no one crossing the street, although kids are flooding out of the school. And I'm thinking to myself, why isn't he going? You know, like my aunt's house is 1 more block up. Why isn't he taking us there? And I had this initial like sheer panic inside of me. I'm sort of looking around trying to figure out what the point of this is. I turn to my left and I look at one of those new houses because we've been kind of parked at this stop sign for quite a minute. And there is a kid who's probably 16 or 17 years old. And he is doing ungodly things to animals. And there are dead things all over the yard, essentially. And I freak out. I freak out because I was like, why? I don't want to watch this. I don't want to see this happen. I was really angry at the person. I wanted to do something to get him to stop doing this. And the first thing I thought in my head was serial killer. And as I'm sitting there, after I'm watching this guy just mutilate, you know, and I'm horrified. I turn and I look in the rearview mirror, and the man who's driving us has this horrible smirk on his face. And he's just like thrilled that I'm watching this play out. And then he says to me, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I've got to do something about this. Like, this is horrible. I've got to do something about this." And he goes, "Well, why don't you call the cops?" And I said, "I think I will." So I pull out my cell phone in the dream and I call 911 and I'm reporting this person doing these horrible things. And the other person, like the police officer on the other side, is like being really snooty, like, "What do you want me to do about it?" And he's like, "Well, what do you think I could do about it?" Like, and all of a sudden it clicks that the same person driving me is the same person on the phone. It's like he's split himself into two somehow. And this guy in the front seat who's driving me is just like laughing and like making a mockery out of me. And then I look over and realize the kid on the lawn that's doing this is also another version of him. And it's like his younger self or something. And then I turn and look at my friend who was like in the front seat, and he also turns into this same serial killer. And I'm on the phone and like they're just getting a kick out of this. Like I'm trapped like on all corners with this guy. And I'm on the phone with this police officer, and all of a sudden it was like he was trying to trick me. It was very like trickster energy. And while I was on the phone, the police officer was like, "Oh, what do you want me to do?" Like making a mockery out of it. And I was like, this is serial killer shit. I was like, I'm dealing with a serial killer. And it was weird because as I turned and looked at him in the rearview mirror and like called him out, all of a sudden his face went from laughing and smiling like, "Haha, gotcha," to "She figured me out." And all of a sudden, all of the people out of the school disappear. The kid on the lawn disappears. The friend disappears. The police officer disappears. Like the phone call gets hung up on. The guy in the front seat disappears. Like he got scared and left. And then I just suddenly like woke up. Well, I woke up fairly early. I think this was around 4:30 in the morning. So I told myself, I was like, I'm going to have to go back to sleep because if I go through, like, I'm fine with waking up early and starting my like day early and working out early, but I'm not going to be able to shake this dream off because this was really, really intense. So anyway, I don't know what the meaning of this dream is. These are how predominant and real my dreams are. I'm recording this as like a stamp in time because maybe this means that I'm going to go investigate a location where there was like an unknown serial killer and somehow this guy has attached himself to my energy. When I woke up, the way that I can interpret it is he is someone who did horrific crimes when he was young and he was not caught for it. And then he got older and became, this kind of killer because that's often a trait that we see in them. And then he somehow died maybe in his 40s and 50s, which is the way that I was seeing him in the car. And he is now in the gray zone. And he has chosen not to cross over because he is scared to meet his maker after what he's done. And I've told you guys, I've asked my guides, specifically what will happen to my mom's killer when she crosses over. And there is no hell. There is no purgatory. Your higher self will destroy you. If you have been a bad human on this earth, when you cross over and go home and you've done unspeakable things like harm animals, harm children, harm humans, your higher self will destroy you and it will rebirth you. So I think this guy is scared to go home because of the things he's done. Once again, though, I just wanted to record this so that we have something to look back on and maybe I can revisit this. Clearly, there was something having to do with an ice cream shop. Maybe I need to research serial killers somehow connected to ice cream shops and taxi cab drivers. And I'm not sure. I would love to hear you guys and what you have to say about it. But I think this will be a cool series to start sort of with my new psychic medium abilities. That was not a fun one, though. Let me just say that. I don't enjoy these types of interactions with the other side. And, but there's got to be, and I've told my guides, I put filters up where I don't want to see how they die. I don't want to see what they did to other people. I don't want to see the violent, unspeakable things that they've done. And my guides know that that is a firm boundary, but for some reason I needed to see what I saw, it's going to make sense later. I don't know what that means. So anyway, welcome to the new series.